You're listening to the Telltale Channel. In this podcast, Flashpoint, a TV show on Kenneth Copeland's network, just laid down lie after lie about the George Floyd protests and the 2024 election. They claim that Tim Walz is a communist and a socialist, and that he didn't do anything when houses were burned down in the city. I guess they ignored the news articles about how the people who lit fires in Minneapolis were right-wing extremists, not on the left. The whole framing is nonsense. Roseanne is convinced there are blood-drinking members of the cabal hiding around every corner. In fact, there are a lot of high-profile, famous people spreading the idea that lizard people rule the world, quote-unquote. Kenneth Copeland's TV network just invited a pastor on to talk about it. I honestly never thought this belief would move from conspiracy to mainstream, but here we are. Greg Locke decided to lay down some opinions on the 2024 election and trans women in the Olympics. He says he's doing it for you, even though there are no trans women competing in the Olympics. I suppose his whole belief requires him to ignore facts in favor of whatever fiction he feels like making up that day. We also take voicemails. If you want to leave a voicemail, the number is 1-800-701-8573. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally.
I believe wholeheartedly Donald Trump and Butler County's J.D. Vance are the last chance to save our country politically. I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved.
This is a senator or a governor, I think. He was doing a rally, I believe, with J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate, in 2024. And the Republicans, up to this moment, have been doing nothing but complaining nonstop about lowering the temperature. Since Donald Trump was like a victim of an assassination attempt, they won't shut up about lowering the temperature. Guess what, guys? That's not on me. That's on you. That's on this dude right here who's calling for a civil war. This is what causes assassination attempts. And for the record, the guy that did the assassination attempt was a Republican, registered Republican. And he even voted Republican, to my knowledge, I think in a primary or something. Anyway, one more thing. This guy has jaundice. He needs to get his liver checked. Seriously, look at the people behind him. His skin is yellow. His liver is failing. Get a liver test. I don't know what it is with, like, Republicans and their whole Civil War line right now. It's just weird, dude. Listen to this. This is Andrew Womack. He's on Kenneth Copeland's TV network, the Victory Channel.
If they were still writing the Bible today, I believe that the American Constitution and the founding of this nation would be in Scripture as one of the great things that God has done.
Really? Okay. Go on.
So there's nothing wrong with our Constitution. It's the fact that we aren't following it.
I actually agree. I agree with that. It's just that he's trying to erase parts of the Constitution, like the first sentence in the First Amendment, for example, you know, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, or, you know, respecting religion or the establishment or whatever it is. Yeah, he's trying to erase that one. They're trying to, when I say that, I mean like Andrew Womack and others on the Victory Channel, Kenneth Copeland and people like him. They are trying to erase the First Amendment. That's my point. I think the Constitution is really well written, like impressively well written, actually, really. It's just not being enforced like it's supposed to is all. That's why we're seeing a complete breakdown in a number of different areas of society. Or at the very least, if not a breakdown, then like a total fundamental shift.
And, you know, I've dealt with this before. I've actually told people that if Trump gets back in, there are people that are saying that they will physically fight. We've seen riots in the streets, you know, back during the 2020 and the George Floyd and riots and all these.
I noticed he didn't mention the latest one, January 6th, 2021. Okay. So he says people are going to fight if Trump loses in 2024, right?
Riots and all these things. And I've actually had people say that if Trump was to be elected, if we got a conservative Congress, that they fear that we would have another civil war. And you know what? I don't want a civil war. I don't know
I can tell
anybody that does. But would it be worth it to turn this nation back? I believe it would.
That's absolutely disgusting. Like, Usually people who fight in a war understand what that entails. And ex-soldiers a lot of the time will do literally anything to not make that happen again to anybody, because that is not good. Human beings are not supposed to do the stuff that humans do in war. They're just not. And that's basic stuff like just shooting somebody. Not even going down a rabbit hole of like torture and all of that. Surprisingly, this guy is actually a veteran, to my knowledge. I mean, Andrew Womack and many other Republicans been talking about a civil war for a while now. This clip is from 2021. It's early August 2021. Dude on screen here is a guy named Doug Frank, I believe, and he worked with Mike Lindell to basically like steal election data or collaborate with somebody who had stolen it and distribute it and stuff. The FBI took his cell phone and all kinds of other things like that. He's in like a lot of trouble, this guy is, for his meddling in the election. Apparently he's a physicist, I think, something. Anyway, listen to this with him and Andrew Womack.
People in America that are traitors that cooperated with this to get the ends that they wanted. So it's not just foreign actors. We've got some bad actors in our own country. And
he's saying that people in our own country and abroad collaborated to make sure Trump didn't get the election by cheating. Get a grip on reality.
Frankly, they're traitors and they deserve traitor's treatment.
If you can prove this, are people
He can't.
going to be guilty of treason? Is it?
There's nobody guilty of treason for cheating in an election. That's not even what the charge would be. What?
There going to be jail time or repercussions for them?
Yes, there's no doubt in my mind that we have some real traitors. And I talk to a lot of veterans these days, and they're the guys who.
Look at him adjusting his tie, a little American flag bow tie over here when he talks about veterans.
They're the guys who have been in the field and seen their buddies die in the field.
I've been right there.
You're a vet as well.
I am.
Are you just going to roll over and let the liberty that your buddies died for just go to waste? No way. And
nobody wants war if you've been through it. Nearly nobody. Yeah, I'm doing a whole bunch of research for a book about Christianity during World War II in Germany, and there was so much extremist, like over-the-top patriotic, nutty stuff going on in Germany at the time. Like, you know, the people who put flags all over their everything, like their cars and deck everything, you know, got flag jackets and ties like this guy right here, or like Kenneth Copeland in his stupid flag jacket. He's got like multiple flag jackets, Copeland does. I'm not going to play the clip. I just want to pull up the image. Like right here for the video audience. This is it's a flag jacket on Kenneth Copeland. Anyway, this is the degree of patriotism, quote unquote, that was displayed in Germany during, like, before World War II in the lead up, like 1920s and 30s. It was over the top. It's called nationalism. And there were a lot of very nationalistic, extreme World War I veterans in the 1920s and 30s, because World War I ended in like 1919, I think. So, you know, you're fresh off of a campaign in the 20s and 30s, and there were a surprising number of right-wing extremist nutcases, you know, wearing flag jackets like this, who were anti-war in Germany, like Nazis that were anti-war. They wanted to do things, they wanted to accomplish their goals peacefully if at all possible, many of them. When you go to war and you see the shit that it entails, you will do whatever it takes to never see it again. It's just odd to me that, like, Andrew Womack is supposedly a veteran who saw his buddies die in a field and is telling us that he does want war.
Just go to waste? No way. And that's what I think is happening. You know, as people are waking up, especially our vets, they're saying, hey, my oath is a lifetime oath. I'm still going to serve my country. I think people are rising up, and they're not going to just be happy with, well, let's just slap that guy in the wrist. No way. That person's a traitor. And, you know, my buddies died for less than that. So I think it's going to be.
So he's saying that he wants to take part in a civil war, right? Or he doesn't want to take part. I'm sorry, let me rephrase. He wants others to take part in a civil war on his behalf. That's what I meant to say.
think there's going to be some pretty stiff consequences coming.
You know, when I think about it, that goes for Andrew Womack too. He says, I'm not going to stand by. Oh, yes, you are. You're like 60. You're not putting on the military uniform and getting your AR-15 out, if he even has one, and go to the nearest whatever and start doing something about it. It's not happening. You're trying to whip others into a blood frenzy. That's what Andrew Womack's doing. He's whipping people into a blood frenzy to get them to do it so he doesn't have to. Shameless, disgusting nonsense. Anyway, I don't know why people are talking so much about a civil war. It's weird. It's another one of those things that's just weird about Republicans right now. I got a voicemail, and I think this one is about the same subject. Let's give it a listen. By the way, if you want to leave a voicemail, 1-800-701-8573. That's the phone number. If you keep it under 60 seconds, I'm nearly guaranteed to hear it.
Hey, Owen, this is David from Kentucky. Just wanted to comment on the shooting at the Trump rally.
Talking about the assassination attempt, yeah.
I got a feeling that this kid was wanting to spread chaos. Like, I know that a lot of Republicans have been threatening to start a civil war, for the past 12 years.
Yep.
And I got a feeling this kid was trying to be a match, basically, to the MAGA dynamite, so to speak. And I don't know if it is that way or whatnot, but hopefully more evidence comes in to where we will find out more about him. I know that his classmates said that he had toxic conservative views based on the interviews, and he was bullied in school. But like I said, once we find out more, we'll know more. I'm just getting tired of the conspiracy theories by MAGA supporters because they want to say, oh, well, Joe Biden paid him off. Or, he was a secret agent of the Democrats, even though he was raised in a Republican home. So, anyway, take care. Keep making those great videos.
Yeah, appreciate that. To my knowledge, the thing that I've noticed about assassination attempts is that when somebody is that far down a weird rabbit hole, their decisions they're not going to make sense to us. They didn't reason their way into that position. You can't. And they can't be reasoned out of it, more than likely. He just needed mental help desperately. I don't know what his goal was. I don't know. Maybe it was to foment, chaos or whatever. But maybe it was just because he wanted to be famous. I mean, there were other searches on his computer, to my knowledge. I think we learned that not too long ago, that he had searched for Biden and Kamala Harris and a whole bunch of other people. It's possible that this is just his first opportunity. I mean, who knows, right? Either way, I blame Republicans. They did this. They need to fix it. There's nothing I can do. I can't lower the temperature, as they're saying, because I didn't heat it up. They did. Andrew Womack talking about civil war nonstop. Jaundice guy. That's what I have him down as my notes. Jaundice guy, whatever his name is. Civil war nonstop. So I don't know what to do about that. If they want something to change, then they have to change it.
Hey, it's Chris from Florida again. Oh, and I had a really weird thought. And before I begin that thought, I want to say that I condone any political violence whatsoever.
I assume you mean you don't condone any political violence.
It is not necessary, and it should never be a part of our political system. But doesn't it bring back memories of what happened to Hitler back in his day and how many times that they tried to kill him and what's going on with Trump right now? I mean, how many assassination attempts did Hitler survive? Just a thought. And again, any political violence is horrible, should never, ever, ever be done. And I do not in any way, shape, or form condone it. But I think it's just very weird how we're drawing parallels to Adolf Hitler and the times that people tried to assassinate him. Have a great day.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There were a lot of assassination attempts against Hitler. One specifically notable attempt was called Project Valkyrie, and I've done a lot of reading on this subject recently because, talking about the church and everything and writing a book about it. Anyway, by the way, owenmorgan.com if you want to find my books. There were assassination attempts against him that were like planned and orchestrated by groups of people because they believed that they needed to stop him to prevent him from like doing what he was obviously going to do, what he eventually did go on to do, or what he's in the middle of doing, killing a bunch of people. It's a different scenario than just like a lone nutcase walking up to, say, Reagan, for example, and taking a shot at him because he wanted to impress Jodie Foster, or any number of other weird reasons for why people do this kind of thing. It just like it happens throughout the world reasonably often. It happens, assassination attempts. And a lot of the time, the reasoning is just odd. There are, it's minority cases where the assassination attempts are, where the assassination attempts are like thought out and planned by a group of people who have something to lose, I feel like there's another thing I wanted to mention in there, but I think I slipped away. Well, anyway, yeah. Thank you for the voicemail. I appreciate that.
Hey, Owen. So my name is Alex. I'm currently living in Pennsylvania. My family's about to leave the country, actually.
I think I'm about to get my ripped.
Listen, I've been listening to your back catalog, and there are some things you say in some of these shows that are honestly sometimes naive, sometimes a bit outlandish.
He's going to rip my...
I'm getting to one where you're talking about Richard Dawson, and...
I assume you mean Richard Dawkins?
I don't really see your position on Islam. I don't get how you could get there and how you think it should not exist. Personally, I don't think that any religion really should, but...
Right, then we have the same position.
I don't see why one, such as Islam, is any worse than Christianity.
Okay. Let me just clarify. I don't think Islam shouldn't exist, like we should take it out or something. My position is, I think that humanity would be better off if we believed more true things and fewer false things. And the whole foundation of Islam and, evangelical extremist Christianity and Buddhism and, Hinduism, all of them, the foundation is made of sand. It's nonsense. All you have to do is like poke one hole and it all falls apart. That's how full of nonsense a lot of these religions are. So in an ideal world, I would like to live in one where people naturally realized, oh, this is built on sand, and walk away. I don't want to destroy any religions or like attack them or whatever other thing. I would like to talk them out of it. But yeah, I mean, my position doesn't sound any different than yours so far.
I don't think that any religion really should, but I don't see why one, such as Islam, is any worse than Christianity.
Islam is worse than Christianity, in my opinion, right now, at this moment in history, because it has a stranglehold on governments in a way that Christianity simply doesn't. And it's imposing its belief system on people in a way that Christianity can't. It's trying to, but it can't. And it has in the past. And they ran crusades to spread the belief of Christianity by the sword and the whole 9 yards. So, taking everything in its full historical context, all things considered, all religions, well, a lot of religions, a lot of the main ones are equally as bad. Jews have been oppressed terribly in the past 150 years, honestly, the past few thousand years. But there was a period of time where Jews were the aggressors and did some heinous to neighboring countries. Everybody, every religion out there does messed up in their God's name. Right now, Islam has a stranglehold on that, in my opinion.
Considering Christianity is absolutely, on the whole, just as destructive as Islam has a tendency to be, but Islam has more peaceful teachings.
Islam has more peaceful teachings than Christianity? No, I don't think so. No, that's not true. Muhammad was a war general, wasn't he? And Christianity, like Jesus' teachings, I'm assuming you're talking about the Quran and the New Testament since we're talking Christianity. Jesus' teachings were like all about peace and love and happiness. I'm just not seeing it. I appreciate the call, though. If you have more to lay on me, then call. It goes for anybody. You got some criticism of me, I will play it. Seriously, anything.
Hey, Owen, Guy Young, Brookville, Illinois. Since my voice is still shot, I'm calling you before I had the actual talk with Tom Hartman. But it's starting out that the shooter is just what I thought. It was a GOP plot. Okay, his family is GOP. Somehow they recruited this guy. As the more details come out,
Okay, I think Guy Young calls in all the time. Awesome dude, love him to death. I think he's a little bit of a, kind of goes down some conspiracy adjacent rabbit holes. I don't think there's any reason to think that this assassin or whatever was recruited by anybody.
continue to be proven right. I called you like a month ago and said that if Trump was assassinated, it would be by the GOP.
That's interesting. I mean, I think the Republican Party would probably benefit a lot from Trump's assassination. It would spark this rally around the flag effect for Republicans that hasn't been seen since like 9/11, probably. They would get just an obscene amount of support. Doesn't matter who did it. And they already, in my opinion, Republicans probably, I'm assuming, got more support after the assassination attempt that didn't even work. I'm guessing, I probably shouldn't speculate on this, but Republicans would benefit a lot from that. Trump has taken the Republican Party and forced it to conform to his will. And as a result, it's just been loss after loss after loss. Dude made the Republican Party lose in 2018, 2020, and 2022. And in my opinion, 2024 also. Accepting Trump into the party was the worst decision Republicans, Fox News, Newsmax, anybody, the media could have possibly made to not destroy this guy in the primaries, all of them, in 2016, I mean. So anyway, I guess we'll see how things turn out, but I don't think that it was a Republican. I'm sorry. I don't think that it was a Republican plot. That's what I'm getting at here. I think it was just a lone nutcase. Next up, Flashpoint, a TV show on Kenneth Copeland's network, just laid down lie after lie about the George Floyd protests and the 2024 election. They claimed that Tim Walz is a communist and a socialist, and that he didn't do anything when houses were burned down in the city. I guess they ignored the news articles about how the people who lit fires in Minneapolis were right-wing extremists, not on the left. The whole framing is nonsense. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. This is a prophet of God named Joseph Z. He just laid down some ridiculous nonsense about Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and the George Floyd protests and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I want to listen to him prophesy from God about all these subjects. Check this out. He's on a TV show called Flashpoint on Kenneth Copeland's TV network. This is from August 6th, 2024, by the way.
But Gene, as we've talked about before, I believe that we're looking at a 4-year redemption cycle. I believe we're going into a time of redemptive instability. We're going into instability because the Lord is going to use the very weapons of the enemy, much like Goliath's sword, to begin to turn this scenario on the enemy. And I believe...
Oh, this sounds like a false prophecy to me. I cannot wait to shoot this down in like a year. I'm marking these down. I'm making note of every false prophecy they give us so we can circle back to it. Okay, we got a new one. Go on.
Redemption is the end of this arc. I believe we're going to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living because the cries of the righteous, they've absolutely been heard. And, I'm so grateful for Pastor Hank and yourself leading the charge with the heart of God in the middle of a world and a culture going mad. And a revelation, and Flashpoint, for every viewer that's on here, a man or woman with a revelation is not at the mercy of some culture going mad. Jesus is with us. I believe that we see the goodness of the Lord in the next 4 years. I believe we're going to rise up and see it come to pass. There's a lot of visions I've had about it, Pastor.
Visions, he said. A lot of visions he's had to back this up. Okay, go on.
Visions I've had.
By the way, why are his eyes so close together? They are unnaturally close together. I don't like talking about people's looks. This isn't even a looks thing. It's a, is this guy the lizard person thing? Okay, go on.
A lot of visions I've had about it, Pastor Gene. But victory, I believe, is a part of our makeup. It's a part of what God's called us to do.
And so he just lays down this false prophecy that we're going to readdress in like a year or two. And everybody on the show is now going to reaffirm his false prophecy. Say, oh yeah, I got that too. They're so stupid, dude. Sometimes the things that they say. Okay, check this clip out from him.
My uncle was running against Tim Walz in 2022. His name is...
Yeah, Tim Walz is the vice president pick for Kamala Harris. If you're watching this in like 5 years and she lost or something, just want to lay down some groundwork here. So he has some things to say about Tim Walz because his uncle ran against him or something. All right.
My uncle was running against Tim Walz in 2022. His name is Senator Paul Gazelka. He was running against this character right here. And he actually was greatly involved in the 2020 scenario when Walz was not allowing the National Guard to do their job as quickly as they needed to.
It's just a lie.
And there was all these excuses and delays. And that's something you...
That's just a lie. It's a lie. He's lying right now. If he was... Either he was not close to the campaign and what was happening at the time, or he's lying. It seems to me it can only be one of the two.
And there was all these excuses and delays, and that's something you'd expect from a guy who got pulled over for drunk driving, and in his drunk driving narrative began to blame it on his deafness.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's going on about right now. To my knowledge, Tim Walz got in a DUI and turned his life around. He went to jail, I think, maybe, and fixed it. You know, a redemption arc, if you will. He's trying to repair the problems that he had in his life, and he was successful, if you ask me. So yeah, I'm all for it, you know? That's good. I have a redemption arc too. You know, I was an addict myself, and I pulled myself together, and now I'm a contributing member of society where I wasn't before. So hats off to Tim Walz for accomplishing that. But let's just let this guy tear him down over it.
Driving narrative began to blame it on his deafness. And
yeah, again, I don't know what that means. I've never heard that.
And those are the kind of characters that we're dealing with in this scenario. They always put things off on the other setting that they're working with. And so
the hell does that mean?
My Uncle Paul was running against him, and he had an insider view of some of the things that were taking place. And during that same narrative, right during that time, even my daughter went downtown and was standing there with Antifa, like taking photos of them praying as these things were taking place. And I get...
Oh my God, dude. I think he's talking about the George Floyd protests right now. So what does his dad have to do with any of this? He says, even my daughter went and prayed. How are any of these things connected? You're pretending to have some kind of insider info and giving us no reason to think you did.
To tell you, the spirit by which hostility was manufactured and allowed with the issue or the edict of Antichrist trying to come and shut Minnesota down, it was a disgrace to that state. I'm from there. Just like Mike, I'm from there. I grew up in this territory. And when they're beginning to allow these things to happen, it was disgusting, disgraceful. And I think it was Babylon Bee that put out something really funny. You know, Tim Walz, he'll make America, Minnesota. And when you look at this type of narrative, it is horrifying, it's despicable, and I think America should...
Like, what narrative is he even complaining about right now?
I think America should wake up to this, and I think many people will because they're overplaying their hand.
How is anybody overplaying their hand? What does that even mean in this context? Is he just, like, saying words for the sake of saying them? Boy, would it be embarrassing if there was a clip of Donald Trump praising Tim Walz for how he handled exactly what this guy's talking about right now, wouldn't it?
I know Governor Walz is on the phone, and we spoke. And
why does he sound like a 13-year-old boy?
I fully agree with the way he handled it the last couple of days. I asked him to do that, and the whole world was laughing. 2 days, 3 days later, I spoke to the governor. The governor's, I think, on the call, and he's an excellent guy.
Whoopsie daisy. Just picked a whole bouquet of whoopsie daisies there, didn't he? So it seems pretty clear to me that when it's convenient, these people will claim that Tim Walz is like the root of all evil and he did like a terrible job in the George Floyd protests. But when it's inconvenient, they won't say a word, or they'll even praise him when that's the better thing to do. Shameless lies. It's all lies all the way down. Is the point here.
You've got a big National Guard out there that's ready to come in and fight like hell. I tell you, what they did in Minneapolis was incredible.
Yeah, anyway, Tim Walz used to be a little bit more conservative than he is today. To my knowledge, he kind of moved to the left on like gun rights. He's for gun rights, but he's said that there needs to be like a lot more regulation and things. So he's he governs differently now than he used to, luckily. But yeah, that's why Trump was praising him. So they're just like making this up. And also, I don't know what he's talking about, like Antifa was down there or whatever. What? You know who was burning down these buildings, quote unquote? I'll tell you exactly who was doing it. He says it was like Tim Walz's fault, right? Boy, would it be embarrassing if we had evidence that it was actually right-wingers that were trying to spark riots, like race wars or race riots or whatever. Whoops! Picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies once again, didn't we? Boogaloo Boy charged in fire of Minneapolis police precinct during the George Floyd protests. This was like a really big event where the police precinct burned down. It was a Trump supporter that showed up and burned it down. A Trump supporter who was then arrested, I believe. This is from October 2020. A right-wing extremist boasted of driving from Texas to Minneapolis to help set fire to a police precinct during the George Floyd protests, federal prosecutors said. U.S. Attorney Erica McDonald said on Friday that she had charged Ivan Harrison Hunter, a 26-year-old Texas resident, with traveling across state lines to participate in a riot. The charges are the latest example of far-right extremists attempting to use violence to escalate national protests against police brutality into an uprising against the government and even full civil war. Yeah, the Boogaloo Boys are absolutely insane. Like QAnoners or the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers 3%ers or whatever. They're all nutcases. Boy, would it be embarrassing if we had evidence that there were other right-wingers at those protests trying to spark race riots and stuff, trying to spark complete chaos, he said as he played another example of it. Yeah, I'm going to mute it because I don't want copyright or whatever. Dude is smashing in windows with an umbrella. Turns out he's a right-winger. They tracked him down. They arrested his lies all the way down. All of it. This is from ABC News, July 29th, 2020. A masked umbrella-wielding man accused of helping incite riots and looting in the aftermath of George Floyd's police-involved death has been identified as a member of a white supremacist group that aimed to stir racial tensions amid largely peaceful Black Lives Matter protests, according to police. The 32-year-old, dubbed Umbrella Man, was captured in a viral video back in May wearing a black hooded outfit and a black gas mask as he smashed store windows with a sledgehammer and encouraged people to steal, according to a search warrant affidavit filed in court this week. His actions quickly led to the first of several arson fires that police say transformed the peaceful protests into local danger zones, the affidavit said. He's also accused of spray painting the words "Free for Everyone Zone" on the doors of an AutoZone before he allegedly smashed in the window. Well, I mean, it's not really alleged. We're watching it happen right now, right? Somebody certainly smashed him in. The store was broken into and set on fire shortly after, the affidavit said. So who was setting these fires again? I missed it. I'm sorry, prophet of God Joseph Z. I got gummy bears in my ears and I didn't hear you.
And when you look at this type of narrative, it is horrifying, it's despicable, and I think America should wake up to this, and I think many people will because they're overplaying their hand.
Boy, would it be embarrassing if like, everything that he just said that was provably false. God, these people are like, they just, you know what's really disturbing about it? They can, with no morality involvement, no conscience, no nothing, state things that, in my opinion, they know are lies, and state them with such confidence, like they are just factually true. That takes like a special kind of sociopath just to like come up with something and push it for political or religious ends like that. Just lie. Like, all the time. Not once, constantly. Like, that's your job. Here's another article on the subject. The precinct is on fire. What happened at Minneapolis 3rd Precinct and what it means. Again, this was the one that was done by the Boogaloo Boy, the right-winger. It was 9:53 p.m. when a Minneapolis police officer sent out an urgent call to the other officers who remained in the 3rd Precinct. We need to move. We need to move, he shouted over the police radio. Protesters were breaking into the back of the station, and officers were preparing to take an unprecedented step in American policing to abandon their precinct building. The front has been breached, an officer called over the radio before they fled. They're coming in the back. In dramatic exit, a squad car rammed through a gate near the station in South Minneapolis, leading a motorcade racing from the parking lot. Patrol officers in riot gear left on foot, hurrying past the jeering crowd, hurling rocks and fireworks. But it was all sparked by a right-winger. Literally sparked, I guess you could say. It was set on fire by right-wing provocateurs. These were largely peaceful protests. Now, you may have noticed in this video they said something to the effect of Tim Walz didn't do anything with the National Guard, or he didn't allow the National Guard to do their job, or whatever the hell he's talking about. The mayor requested Tim Walz send some National Guard, and I think that afternoon he sent them, or it was a span of just hours to my knowledge. He sent the National Guard, but they're criticizing him on this show because he didn't do it like that minute rather than within hours, saying he filed the wrong paperwork or whatever. Like, what? No. Again, like, these people just brazenly lie about this stuff. Listen to this one. This is them trying to, like, demonize Tim Walz even further.
This is what he says, all right? Listen to this in his own words.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Dude, I love how they play a 9-second clip and cut him off in the middle of a sentence. But you know what? That's absolutely right. He's correct in saying that. These people believe that socialism is just taking care of your neighbor or whatever. You can't just care for the people around you. It has to be socialism in their mind. That's what he was saying. There's hyperbole out the nose with them. When I say them, I mean them on screen right here. Like these guys, Mike Lindell, Gene Bailey, Rick Green, Joseph Z.
Wait. What?
Wow.
What? Rick, he actually
I don't understand what's like surprising here.
said it out loud. He said it.
If he,
What, he said that you guys think that he's a socialist?
it said it at Patriot Academy last week. Anytime the word socialism was mentioned.
Yeah, so he runs this nonprofit called Patriot Academy, I think, where he propagandizes to little kids, basically. He convinces them that socialism bad, communism bad, everything that isn't Jesus and Trump and guns bad, basically. It's insane. So he's at Patriot Academy. Go on.
Academy last week. Anytime the word socialism was mentioned, you'd hear all the kids yell out, "Is bad, very, very bad." It was actually kind of funny because...
No, that's sad. The appropriate emotion would be sad and disturbed.
We had an economist come speak and you was talking about socialism versus capitalism. So he's saying the word socialism a lot.
Economist, right.
Kids are yelling it out every time. Anyway, Gene, believe them. Believe them. When they say they're for this crazy stuff.
He didn't say that, though. He said he's in favor of being neighborly, and your stupid ass is calling him a communist. That's what he was complaining about in that 9-second clip where you cut him off halfway through a sentence.
When they say they're for this crazy stuff, Mike's had to live with it there in Minnesota. And like he said, I mean,
Mike Lindell,
the fact that he made the riots worse by encouraging them. I mean, apparently his wife actually opened the window so she could smell the city's burning, so she could, take in the moment that was.
Where'd you get that? Who told you that? Did God tell you that in a dream? Is that where you got it from? Is this real? Where would he even hear something like that? Who would report on something like that other than like Fox News? In my opinion, that's just like straight up fabricated. I wonder, let's see. Walz, wife, open window, Minnesota, George Floyd. Let's see. Oh, it's New York Post that report. Okay, yeah, that explains it. Here's something from the Daily Beast. I generally trust the Daily Beast for the most part. They can be bad sometimes. But if you want to know if something is trustworthy or not, go to mediabiasfactcheck.com and just type the name of it in the search bar here, and it should pop it up for you. Here you go. The Daily Beast, bias and credibility rating. Mixed factual reporting, apparently. I didn't know that. Mixed factual reporting, and they are apparently far left. Interesting. Like I said, I trust media bias fact check pretty well, but apparently the Daily Beast is not very trustworthy. So I guess the factual reporting is dubious. I didn't actually see any other sources, just New York Post, which is right-wing trash, and the Daily Beast, which is questionable, and then Yahoo. Great. Thank you, Yahoo. And then Fox News, maybe? Yeah, I'm not seeing it from any trustworthy sources at all. Tim Walz's wife reveals why she kept the windows open during George Floyd protests. Comments Tim Walz's... Wait, hang on. Did I miss something? Why would they start a sentence like this? Comments Tim Walz's wife, Gwen Walz, made about the 2020 George Floyd protests are resurfacing. Walz, who was tapped as Vice President Kamala Harris' running mate on Tuesday, was governor of Minnesota when the demonstrations took place in the state's capital. Again, we had more sleepless nights during the riots. I could smell the burning tires, and that was a very real thing. I kept the windows open as long as I could because I felt like it was such a touchstone of what was happening. Okay, so she wasn't saying that she was, like, enjoying the smell. She's saying that she felt she needed to remember it, and I can respect the hell out of that as a governor's wife. Like, she needs to know what's going on. That seems important.
He said, I mean, the fact that he made the riots worse by encouraging them. I mean, apparently his wife actually opened the window so she could smell the city's burning, so she could, take in the moment that was happening. That's how.
Wow. That's fascinating how he twisted that around, isn't it?
Bad these people are. And it went all over the nation. And as Mike said, around the world when it could have been stopped. The same thing's going to happen with socialism and, frankly, outright communism if the.
Do they know what those words mean? Do they know how they're different at all? God, this drives me nuts. Like, they use these words completely incorrectly, constantly. Back in the 1930s, they used the term socialism very differently. It did not mean what it means today. At the time, socialism was basically fighting for workers' rights, like unemployment insurance, medical insurance, and whatever other things. A minimum wage and a pension, things like that. That was socialism at the time, back in Germany in the 30s, for example. Today, it's very different. There are nonprofit organizations, and in those nonprofit organizations, this is how all of them run. They're legally required to run this way. They have to have bylaws, and they have to have a voting system with a board, and all the way up the chain, they have voting. They vote on, well, in a lot of cases, they'll have voting all the way up the chain for like nonprofits where, one person vote on their boss, and then those bosses get together, they vote on their boss. They vote on who gets pay raises. That's a part of nonprofits. They vote on who gets what and who does what and whatever other thing. That's just how it functions. That is socialism. That's how it works, where every company functions like that, where unions are just baked right into the system from the start, basically. Where Mark Zuckerberg can start a company, and he can be the CEO or whatever, and, the co-founder or the founder or whatever, but he doesn't own billions of dollars. All that money is kind of split proportionally with the workers. Like, they get a share in the company that can be, like, dispersed or paid out or whatever other thing. By doing so, you have a stake in the company, and you want to work harder to make the company succeed, because if it succeeds, then you succeed. That is actual real socialism. Communism is significantly more complicated, but it's not socialism. It's where the state owns the means of production and supply rather than the workers. So, the only time it's really been implemented, it kind of devolved into like an authoritarian mess. And in my opinion, I think that that's probably an unavoidable byproduct of communism, because when power is centralized in that way, in the way that it's been implemented, it will always cause corruption. It will always cause it. So anyway, yeah, that's generally how it works. But yeah, okay, they're the same, I guess, basically, right?
World when it could have been stopped. The same thing's going to happen with socialism and, frankly, outright communism if these people get in charge. It's going to be spread all across the nation.
He's acting like communism is like or socialism is like a milder form of communism.
This is actually horrible. But on the other hand, you know what? It's the Democrats saying who they really are, and maybe it'll wake up more people to get involved to realize this is a nightmare if these two actually were to get elected.
Just insane. Just lying nonsense all the way down, all of it. How can they sleep at night and lie like this? It is nuts. I just listened to like a little bit more of Rick Green and Gene Bailey just like lying, and watch Rick Green switch from a smile to an absolute frown. We're going backwards. That was very sudden. That's awesome. He's mad now. All right, sorry, let's listen.
We're not just going to spend our time here bashing Tim Walz. However, people need to understand, and this is what I was watching today.
By the way, to my knowledge, they are part of a nonprofit organization. I think the Victory Channel, owned by Kenneth Copeland, is a nonprofit that's tax exempt, and they fall under that umbrella. Could be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure of it, though.
You know, with him and Kamala.
Hey, you said her name correctly for once.
I keep wanting to throw in a few adjectives, so I won't do that. So when he was talking about Kamala, I mean, and you, if you're not paying attention, you would forget scenes like this that you're seeing. You would forget this is Minneapolis in 2020.
It was a mess. And you know whose fault that was? Primarily right-wing provocateurs and the police for murdering a dude. But for the record, I don't condone violence of any sort ever. Period. None. I don't condone burning down buildings or looting or any of the other stuff. Peaceful protest is a kind of like a cornerstone of our democracy and should always be legal and open to the public. But taking it a step beyond that is just not okay.
Forget this guy didn't send help down because the right paperwork wasn't filled out. That's his.
Okay, just nonsense. I wonder how they feel about January 6th. They must be really upset about it with this footage they're playing, right? No, they lied about January 6th. They claim that it was peaceful and that it was provoked by left-wingers. No evidence of that at all, by the way. They just like lie brazenly all the way down. It's just nonsense for these people. It just kills me how they can say this stuff with impunity.
Filled out. That's his words, not mine. This is what we have. So this is our duty at Flashpoint, Rick, to help people understand.
Yeah.
This is why we're not endorsing a candidate that's for this. We can't endorse anybody, but
I think he means legally he can't endorse anybody. Well, technically the code says you can't endorse or oppose any political candidate. So I don't know what he's thinking. Like, you think you're getting past it by like opposing a candidate rather than endorsing one? I think that he's pretty cool from what I've seen. You know, he's got some pretty good ideas. Used to be kind of right wing, but has moved to the left. That's good news. For the most part, he's a good guy, but I don't think that he's like, I don't think he's worthy of like all the attention that like Fox News is giving him right now. It's like insane. What is the vice president's job anyway? They're just there to take control if the president dies, right? Sure, they meet with foreign dignitaries and embassies, and they work with people on projects and plans and things. Yeah, they have a full-time job. But their real job is taken over if their boss dies, right? He's not going to be running the country. It's going to be Kamala. Why are they even complaining about him right now? Next up, Roseanne is convinced there are blood-drinking members of the cabal hiding around every corner. In fact, there are a lot of high-profile, famous people spreading the idea that lizard people rule the world, quote-unquote. Kenneth Copeland's TV network just invited a pastor on to talk about it. I honestly never thought this belief would move from conspiracy to mainstream, but here we are. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally.
Hey, old bro. How are you doing? I'm here at Mar-a-Lago supporting Carrie Lake, and it was
Roseanne, oh my God. I would say I think it's the wine, but I don't think it's the wine, sadly.
and it was a fantastic evening, and our Trump is here.
Our Trump, comrade.
Being the DJ, and I've just danced, and everyone's amazed. So I'm just going to say to you, please drop out of college because it's going to ruin your lives. Do me a favor, drop out. They don't teach you nothing good.
How is it going to ruin your life to go to college? I mean, the crippling debt will do a number on you. But that's solvable. College improves a country, makes things better. It blows my mind that the right is pushing against college education so hard. Anti-intellectualism. This has surfaced in a lot of authoritarian regimes throughout history, for what it's worth. And you know what? Every country pretty much has its share of like right-wing authoritarian nutcases. Just a matter of like how influential they are, how loud of a voice that they have. There are nutcase Nazis everywhere, right? For example, it's just like, it's a sign, it's a disappointing and concerning sign when Roseanne comes out with some crazy like this.
Email me or Twitter me or whatever you call me, and I'll help you with your life, but you got to get out of college because it isn't nothing but devil-worshipping, baby blood-drinking Democrat donors.
Democrat donors? Wow, that came out of nowhere. What is those things? College is made up of Democrat donors that like drink baby blood? What?
Get out of college because it isn't nothing but devil-worshipping, baby blood-drinking Democrat donors.
Again, I don't think it's the wine here. I think it's Roseanne, honestly.
Love ya.
Love ya. Anyway, Jesus, dude. Get help, Roseanne. For real. This isn't even sarcasm or a joke or anything. Get help. Anyway, this meme of like lizard people, baby drinking, whatever other thing, like sticking a straw in them like a Capri Sun. This is like making the rounds on right-wing media right now. Like people are broadcasting this like wild. This is Joseph Z. He's a prophet of God. A new one that I hadn't heard of before, and he made an appearance on Kenneth Copeland's TV network Flashpoint. Listen to what he had to say about blood-drinking, baby, whatever, lizard people.
You know, even when we bring up guys like Tim Walz and you're looking at what's going on, people say he's, you know, Midwestern folksy.
Okay.
I have another word for him, being from Minnesota myself, and it's weird. The guy's just weird. You see the way he hugs his wife. You see the way he does everything.
Oh, please, dude. Tim Walz went viral a while back for pointing out that Republicans are weird. He says, who wants to ban birth control? Like, what voter base are they appealing to that asked them to ban birth control? That's just weird. Why are they so weird? They pretend to be normal. They're not. It went absolutely viral. And Republicans got so pissed off over it that now their line of attack, I guess, is just repeating it back. Are you serious? This is so unoriginal.
It's weird. The guy's just weird. You see the way he hugs his wife. You see the way he does everything.
You just copy him.
I believe the Spirit of the Lord is letting them overextend their reach. I believe he's giving them a sense of confidence that's actually going to be a surprise silver lining turnaround in this whole narrative. I believe the Spirit of the Lord is going to bring victory and breakthrough. And, you know, it's interesting how the spirit of Antichrist just loves to pick these people that fit right in with the wicked overlord lizard mafia that is really driven by their goblin masters. And when you're looking,
Goblin Masters, he says. I love it, dude. I love it. God, it is so nutty.
Looking at this, I believe that's exactly what we're facing right now.
Goblin Masters. Oh my God. I need to get that on my soundboard. That's just fantastic. One more time.
And, you know, it's interesting how the spirit of Antichrist just loves to pick these people that fit right in with the wicked overlord lizard mafia that is really driven by their goblin masters.
Lizard mafia. It's a mafia, apparently. Okay. Like a cartel, you mean? That kind of deal? Oh my God. Yeah, this isn't like new, though. This has been spreading around for a long time. Matter of fact, a guy named David Icke, I believe, popularized the lizard people story originally. You know, spread around that the world was run by lizard people or whatever. What a wild, bizarre conspiracy, right? To my knowledge, it's from the 90s, the early 2000s. And this whole bit about like drinking blood and stuff, this is all like as old as time, honestly. It was leveled at the Jews originally back like 1,000 years ago because the Jews lived separately from Christians usually, and Christians just didn't know what they were up to and they wanted to desperately. So they just like started making shit up. Obviously, that's what you do, right? Somebody is different. You make fun of them for it. So anyway, that's what happened with the Jews back in the day. Claimed that they were like drinking baby's blood and stuff and mixing it into matzo ball soup or whatever. Anyway, this is Lara Logan on the right. You've got to listen to this interview that got her banned from Newsmax. This is her last interview on there. This one, by the way, is from early November 2022.
God believes that in sovereignty and national identity and the sanctity of family and all the things that we've lived with from the beginning.
I don't remember God saying that.
Of time. And he knows that the open border is Satan's way of taking control of the world through all of these people who are his stooges and his servants.
The open border, God knows the open border is being used by Satan? Okay.
And they may think that they're going to become gods. That's what they tell us, Yuval.
Who is they?
Harari and all the rest of them at the World Economic Forum. You know, the ones who want us eating insects, cockroaches, and that while they dine on the blood of children.
Yeah. Dine on the blood of children. There, just bust it out. Okay, no one wants you eating bugs and cockroaches. What is going through her head? What is her deal with the World Economic Forum? Like, are you kidding me? You know what the World Economic Forum is? It's the subject of a conspiracy theory called the Great Reset. I don't want to go through the whole rabbit hole right now. I'll just give you a basic summary. The World Economic Forum is an organization that it's kind of like, it's a nonprofit that's like worldwide, and they get rich people together. Elon Musk and Bill Gates and whoever else, you know, Jeff Bezos. And the WEF will do data, like research, to figure out how these really, really rich people could benefit the world the most. Like, there's a polio outbreak in the Sudan or in the Congo or something. Well, if we had $50 million, we could pay for, 30,000 vaccines or whatever, and that would slow the spread of this illness by this percent or whatever. So, these people will get together and they'll donate like $50 million. And when COVID hit, first of all, just the fact that they have ever dealt with vaccines to any degree at all kind of pisses off Lara Logan. But when COVID hit, the World Economic Forum, the leader, Klaus Schwab, I think a German dude, he came out and said, this is our opportunity to reset the economies of like big countries to be more favorable to the poor, because the economies are kind of coming to a grinding halt, like all of them are. Now we could like reorder it to be more beneficial for everybody. Yeah, he just called it a reset. He wanted to reset the economies. And these people ran with it and said, it's called the Great Reset now. And just propagandize and lie constantly about the WEF now. It's like the root of all evil. They drink babies and stuff. Weird, right? So a guy who's in charge of some amount of money says, hey, we can make things more fair and equal for the poor. And suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, a conspiracy theory rises from the ashes about how this guy is trying to take advantage of people and make you eat bugs and all kinds of stuff. Like, what? Who would have a stake in turning this guy into a villain, I wonder? It's just insane. Anyway, that's the Great Reset. So that thing about bugs and stuff, like, that's not what was said. And I'm not even sure who said it now. The World Health Organization maybe said that there may come a time in certain areas of the world where meat or, beans, protein sources are scarce because of climate change, and they might have to turn to, like, getting protein from bugs. That's not an ideal to reach for. That's something to try to avoid desperately. And the right, like Lara Logan and other QAnoners like her, are all freaking out about it, claiming the WEF and the World Health Organization wants to force you to eat bugs. Like, my God.
Yuval Noah Harari and all the rest of them at the World Economic Forum. The ones who want us eating insects, cockroaches, and that while they dine on the blood of children. Yeah. Those are the people, right? They're not going to win. They're not going to win.
Yeah, so that's the one that got her banned from Newsmax. It was, I think it was probably her mention of, eating babies at the end there.
Want us eating insects, cockroaches, and that while they dine on the blood of children.
There you go, blood of children. Yeah. I can't even believe that got her banned, to be honest with you. Maybe she's unbanned now. This is going so mainstream. I mean, QAnoners are like completely out of control right now. Conspiracy theorists about the WEF, the Great Reset, and the Great Replacement, and the Great everything else. This is Pete Santilli on the right. He's another propagandist, another like conspiracy theorist who has some wild ideas about like vaccines and things. And he has at least spoken to or been on the same network with, or the same like tour, the same show with Eric Trump and Don Jr. So he's not a nobody. He's up there. He's influential. He's got some absolutely insane conspiracies. I've noticed like the running thread though is eating babies. What a weird thing to accuse somebody of. Actually, there's another clip I want to see of him. Hang on. He's talking to Deanna Lorraine. I believe she ran for Congress, and she was also an InfoWars host for a while, I think.
The people now that are learning more about the adverse impact of getting vaccinated.
There are no adverse impacts of getting vaccinated.
They're having regrets about it because...
Who's having regrets?
We're hearing about this shedding that's going on, and...
Vaccine does not shed. The COVID vaccine does not like get people sick around you or whatever. It's just made up. They're just making shit up.
Been shedding.
The shedding and also the activation of the graphene oxide.
There is no graphene oxide in the COVID vaccine.
Oxide, it's actually sitting there dormant, but if it gets energized by something like 5G.
Okay, 5G's been around for like years.
It actually kills all the cells around it. That is so crazy to me. I mean, can you imagine if they just like activate and said, oh, all right, 1 million people are going to be gone, you know? Just
like as if he gives a shit about like 5 million people. Certainly about people who took the vaccine. He doesn't care about them. Aside from all of that, or I should say he doesn't care about us because I had like 4 vaccines or something. Aside from all that, no one's having regrets, okay? Graphene oxide is fake. 5G's been around forever. This is all just made up nonsense. All of it, all the way down. Listen to this clip from him. Again, influential guy for the most part. I'm just surprised that these conspiracies are making it this far in like mainstream whatever.
This freaking black communist, okay? They got the...
Talking about Obama.
Black communists, like Barack Obama, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Eric Holder.
Why does he say it like that? Like, is it bad to be both of those things? Is that the implicit, like, implication here?
You got these black communists that they want reparations and the billions of dollars.
Did Obama say he wants reparations?
They want to run their freaking communist Hugo Chavez, Fidel Castro-styled communism.
Who said that? All right, you know what? Let me give you this. I don't want that either, okay? I disagree with communism. I am not a communist. I'm a capitalist. Maybe I would like to like kind of implement a lot of social programs, like a lot, you know, build up medical care and all that, Medicaid for all and so on. But I am a capitalist. So Pete and I agree on one thing, right? The difference is not the beliefs between me and somebody like these people. We can believe the same things, and I would still disagree with them because of their tactics, the things that they're willing to do, the things they say and do to hurt the people that they don't like. Keep listening.
Jay-Z, Mr. Do What Thou Wilt.
What? What about Jay-Z? I think he's complaining that Jay-Z supposedly did a triangle symbol. I think maybe he did it. I don't know. It's just like the sign of the Illuminati, just to mess with people, and it worked.
These black satanic communists have taken over the bureaucracy, and they're getting back at the man, aren't they? Hmm?
God, yeah, he just doesn't like any of those 3 attributes: black, communist, or whatever the other one was.
The white man.
And the white man, taking down the white man.
What? Where is his head? Okay, you know what? Like I said, I disagree with that. I don't want that either. We're on the same page, right? So what's his solution to this problem that only exists in his head? Listen to this one. This one is from early April 2023.
Every single one of you that's wearing a badge and a gun, be forewarned. We, the people, are rising. Serve us.
Sooner or later.
Serve us. It's not sooner or later. It's now. It's April 1st, 2023. And it's not by my choice. I'm escalating things because they're escalating, taking away my freedom.
Who is taking away freedom? What freedoms do you think you're losing right now? I don't understand. What's he even complaining about? Mark says his head is in a hood. Yeah, well said.
I wanted to wait till 2024. But no, they want to meddle in my election in 2023.
Who is they? Are they in the room with us right now?
Not sooner or later. Now I'm lighting the candle. Will you join me? This is Ceausescu. He was escorted out. And he was brought by the military, who refused to fire upon the squad anymore, on the crowd anymore. And the police stood down, and the military stood down. You in the military, you need to work for us and protect us. Ceausescu was taken to the concrete wall and executed as a symbol of what I'm talking about.
So he said, I'm escalating things now. We need to do it now. It's pretty clear what he's saying, right? It's not a belief difference that I really have a problem with. It is a tactic difference. He doesn't want to fight on an ideological ground or whatever. He doesn't want to fight communism by like countering it with accurate information or whatever. He wants to fight it with a gun. He wants to kill the people that he doesn't like. That's what he's saying.
I want to set up a scenario where the military and the police have no choice but to execute Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, through proper process. I'm not in charge of that.
Of course, through proper process, absolutely. Because they're communists, right?
I know what I'm in charge of, my vote. And I think I share a lot in common with 150 million other people. That,
you know what's interesting? That's the voting base, 150 million people roughly. I think Biden got like 83 million to Trump 74 or something. So we're talking about 150 million voters, basically. He thinks literally every voter is voting for like Donald Trump. That's what he's saying here.
With 150 million other people that don't want communism. And if we come together and we say that the military and police are to set up a law that requires, when you get overthrown by we the people and a constitutional restoration happens, that you should be swiftly brought to a concrete wall and hold a little hearing and fire away. I hope that you listen to the people.
That is psychotic. Seriously, get help, bro. That is nuts. So what he's saying here about setting up a law so that he can do this or whatever?
That the military and police are to set up a law that requires, when you get overthrown by we the people and a constitutional restoration happens.
What he's saying here is one step in a process that takes us down a road. Like, everything is very gradual and nothing happens. Nothing ever happens until it does, until the day that it happens. I said no ex-president will ever be convicted of a crime. It's just not going to happen. Trump is not going to be convicted of a crime. It's not happening until the day that it happened. Things don't happen until the moment they do. So all of this like underlying work that Pete Santilli, for example, is doing to kind of get us to where he wants us to be, it's pointless. What does this law do? Okay, if you overthrow a constitutional republic in some kind of revolt, then you can do to your enemies. Who cares, right? Just going to pass it. Okay. So now he has one less step he has to take if that were to pass. It's that much easier for him to accomplish the goals that he wants to accomplish. Now, it's not a revolution and making laws so that they can execute people that they don't like and putting their names on record and all that. Now it's just getting the military on your side. And boom, it all falls into place. That's what he's doing with this. Absolutely insane that a lot of these ideas have gone as mainstream as they are. Like Roseanne at Mar-a-Lago talking about baby blood drinkers or whatever.
It isn't nothing but devil-worshipping, baby blood-drinking Democrat donors.
Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This is just nuts, man. Philip Schwartz, these people get even weirder trying not to be odd. I know. It's a lost cause for them. They're fucking weird. That's just what it is. When you talk about drinking baby blood, and you're weird. Next up, Greg Locke decided to lay down some opinions on the 2024 election and trans women in the Olympics. He says he's doing it for you, even though there are no trans women competing in the Olympics. I suppose his whole belief requires him to ignore facts in favor of whatever fiction he feels like making up that day. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. Check this clip out from Greg Locke. He's a televangelist, megachurch pastor, decided to dip his toes in politics. Give this a listen.
People say things like this. Well, you know, Pastor Locke, Global Vision, why do y'all got to make such a fuss about morality? Why do y'all got to make such a fuss about the debacle of the nonsense of a grown man beating a grown woman at the Olympics and getting a medal out of it? Why do y'all got to make a fuss?
That didn't happen. Oh my God.
Why do y'all gotta make a fuss about abortion? Why do y'all gotta make such a fuss about, transgender bathrooms at Target? Why do y'all all...
That was his first big viral video. He was complaining about trans bathrooms at Target. Like, what? Like that even exists. Are you talking about like the unisex bathroom? The one that like disabled people use? Is that what you're complaining about right now? It is so stupid that it's wrapped back around to be comical now. And why are you complaining about abortion? Notice how in the beginning, listen one more time to this short segment here.
About morality. Why do y'all got to make...
Why are you complaining about morality? You catch that?
Global Vision. Why do y'all got to make such a fuss about morality?
You're not complaining about morality is the issue. Nobody is asking you why you care so much about morality. Nobody would ever care about that. You're a church. That's kind of what churches claim. They're moral, whatever. You're not being moral when you attack somebody for who they are. You're not being moral when you say, I don't want gay people to get married because they're not equal to me. You're not being moral when you try to take birth control away legally. Try to make it illegal to use birth control. That's not moral. That's you being a scumbag and pushing in on people's rights that you have no right to push in on. Your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose. Swing it anywhere you want except for right here. Your rights extend up to where my rights begin and no further. But he doesn't get that concept. He doesn't understand. He thinks he has the right to trample over everyone else's rights, but you don't have the right to do that to him. It's not a double-edged sword to him. It's a single-edged sword, and he's on the edge. Or he is the edge.
Why do y'all got to make such a fuss about the debacle of the nonsense of a grown man beating a grown woman at the Olympics and getting a medal out of it?
You know what's really sad about this? Richard Dawkins claimed the same thing. There was an Algerian boxer in women's Olympics that was boxing somebody from Italy, maybe? I don't remember. Anyway, the other person, not the Algerian, whoever was fighting the Algerian said they've never been hit so hard in their life. And the right just ran with it, claimed that the women's Olympics is like being infiltrated by like trans people and stuff. It's just not true, any of it. Richard Dawkins is on my side almost, for everything. It's so disappointing to see him say crazy, unhinged stuff that does like not make any sense. Here, my entire Facebook account's been deleted, seemingly no reason given, because I tweeted that genetically male boxers such as Imain Khalif, XY Undisputed. No, it is disputed. What are you talking about? Undisputed. No, Imain Khalif's a woman. She has a kid, okay? I don't know how it gets more woman than having a kid. I guess I do know how it becomes more woman than that. I don't know how you could be so confused about her being like assigned female at birth than having a kid. How does it get more clear? It's not undisputed. Such as Imain Khalif, XY Undisputed, should not fight women in the Olympics. Of course, my opinion is open to civilized argument, but outright censorship? It's so disappointing, man. These people just like make up because they enjoy it. Imane Khalif can't be trans in Algeria, can't change your birth certificate, can't change your anything at all. You can't get a license to transition. You'll go to jail for that. That's real. And she should be suing the shit out of anybody who makes this claim because they're genuinely putting her life in danger in Algeria. You can't do that. But yeah, just, make it up, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, Richard Dawkins, it's so disappointing, man. It's so sad that he's fallen down this rabbit hole. He helped me a lot with, his books that he wrote, The God Delusion and The Selfish Gene and stuff. It was all very interesting, very well written, very persuasive. It's just sad to see him go down this rabbit hole. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So the point is that Greg Locke seems to think that Imane Khalif is fighting as a woman, but she's really a man. No.
You can put 15 Trumps in, you can put 15 Bidens in, you can put 35 Kamalas in, and it'll just be a debacle if God don't show up and show out and do something great for this nation. And some of y'all sitting around twiddling y'all's thumbs, and Israel's in a full-blown war, which is prophetic.
Oh my God, there is so much there that I don't even know where to start. When he says it's not going to matter unless we get God in, what he means is we need Donald Trump in. But he believes that Trump is going to carry God in on his shoulders or some ridiculous shit like that. So he pretends that he's not endorsing anybody, but he is. And he has been, implicitly at least, this whole time. Oh yeah, and the Israel war that's prophetic, there's a prophecy or whatever among some Jews that they have to sacrifice a red heifer. All right, let me just start from zero here. Solomon built a temple 1000 BCE or whatever. It was destroyed in 586 BCE. Rebuilt in 515 BCE, destroyed in 70 CE. So 35 years after Jesus died or whatever. So there were two temples on the same spot, the mount there, the Temple Mount. Since it was destroyed in 70 CE, Muslims moved into the area, and the Ottoman Empire, the Ottoman Caliphate controlled the whole region, and they built a mosque on the Temple Mount. But Jews have this, some Jews have this, prophetic belief or whatever, that the Messiah will come once they build the third temple. Because there's something about the Messiah will come and sit at the temple or something, I don't even remember. So they need the temple to be there, and Christians need the temple to be there too, because Jesus is supposed to return, at the temple. Some Christians need that. That's why people like Greg Locke support Israel. It's not because they like Jews. They don't. It's because they like the idea of Jesus coming back. Simple as that. And they like the idea of Jesus eventually judging all of those Jews for being evil. 2/3 of them, I think. And casting them off into hell or whatever it is. Anyway, before they build the third temple, some Jews have a prophecy that says they have to slaughter a cow that's unblemished or whatever, that has a red coat of fur. They're very rare, but they do exist. With the magic of the internet, we know where every red heifer is in the world at any given moment. 5 red heifers were shipped from Texas to Israel, illegally, by the way, not a few years back. They're about the right age now. So if Israel decides to slaughter a red heifer in front of the Temple Mount, that's a sign that it's going to get real. It's a sign that Israel intends to tear down the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and that will be World War III if that happens. I know that's a hyperbolic saying, but I am 100% real. That will be a holy war to end all holy wars if they do that. So Greg Locke saying that this war they're in is prophetic and that he's about to talk about the heifers. This is scary. This is not good, what he's saying here. Just keep listening.
And we sitting around with a spirit of fence, mad about stupid stuff that God don't care one thing about.
Spirit of fence. You're sitting on the fence. You need to take a side. Vote for, the candidate that's going to support God the most. You know the one that I'm talking about? Wink, wink.
And I'm just getting geared up good this morning. I might run a few of you out. I'm sick of babysitting people that sit around with their thumb in their mouth.
Okay, I'm not even going to bother. Go on.
Don't carry a Bible, but need a dadgum pacifier because they need their diaper changed every other day because they're ticked off about something. I'm sick of it.
Normalize the word dadgum.
There's 8 doors in this church. You can leave anytime you want to. Not everybody in this church is going to make the leap to the next building, and not all of our staff is going to make the leap to the next building.
He's such a victim. Who the hell is he complaining about right now?
Think I'm playing. I'm done with foolishness in the house of God.
Who's he talking about? Who's acting foolish? He's so full of...
Israel's in a full-blown war. We're getting ready for the first practice run-up of the red heifer being sacrificed.
There you go, the red heifer.
Red heifer being sacrificed. They're waiting for the Messiah to come back, and we sitting around mad about stupid stuff because people talking about us on Facebook. If they're not talking about you on Facebook, you ought to shut it down because you ain't doing it right no how.
God, he's so ridiculous. He's such a ridiculous human being. But that bit about the red heifer and stuff, that's straight up disturbing, man. There's a silver lining behind every mushroom cloud for people like Greg Locke.
I'd say, God, why did you choose Judas? Because you knew what kind of devil he was already.
Yeah, good point. Why did God choose Judas Iscariot to be the treasurer of all things? You know, there is a group of Christian kind of offshoots from the early days, like, you know, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, called Gnostics. And the Gnostics believed that Judas Iscariot sacrificed himself to make God's plan move forward, knowing how he would be viewed in history, but knowing that somebody had to do it. And he was like the most favored, apostle or disciple or whatever. He's the most favored one because he chose to do that for Jesus. I think that makes a hell of a lot more sense than whatever the hell these people have going on right now. Why would God choose Judas Iscariot if he didn't trust him? Like, what? Oh, and he believes that Jesus is God, too. Believes in the Trinity. Gnostics didn't really have any of those ideas. I mean, there were a billion groups, so maybe one of them did. I don't know. But that wasn't, like, prevalent at the time at all.
He hired the man to be the treasurer for 3.5 years. 3 at least. Count the money. And I'm like, Lord, I know you didn't make a mistake. But why you done gone and give this man the money? And by the way, it wasn't no little bitty amount. Can I remind you that there was like 4 or 5 women out of whom Jesus cast demons. Deliverance ministry paved the way for the ministry of Jesus. You know that? These women out of whom was cast devils, the Bible says they gave him all of their resources. And one of them, husband, worked for Herod. So
boy, you know what that sounds like? Sounds like communism to me. Sharing resources, you say?
So this cat had some money.
I don't even know if this is true. This sounds completely made up. I have no idea. I guess there is something in there about Jesus getting, like, money from people, but as far as I could tell, Jesus was just wandering around, like, preaching from town to town and telling people to give up all of their riches for God. Was he trying to, like, squeeze money out of people? I can't tell, like, what was intended in the Bible and what Greg Locke thinks happened exactly.
And I'm like, Lord, why did you choose Judas to be the treasurer? You know what the Lord said to my spirit?
Tell me, Greg.
You can know somebody by 2 things. You can give them money and authority and find out who they are.
Okay, but you don't have to give them money or authority to know who they are. You telling me that God he didn't know who Judas was? He wasn't sure if he was a good person? Because God's not omnipotent or omniscient or whatever the hell? You trying to tell me that God didn't know and he needed to test Judas? Really? Okay, go on.
Or you cannot give them money and authority and find out who they are.
I don't have any idea what that means.
But in both cases, you're going to find out exactly who they are. And Jesus said, I'm just going to let him handle the money because in just a short time, the money will reveal who he really is.
But he didn't need to. He already knew, didn't he?
And in some cases, the lack of the money, because what really revealed him is when that alabaster box was broken. And he's like, we should have taken this and given it to the poor. Not that he cared about the poor. You see, Judas was the first Democrat in the Bible. He used...
Oh my God, dude. The first Democrat in the Bible. Are you serious with this? This guy cannot give up on politics as hard as he tries. He can't help himself but to, like, insult Democrats constantly. So, at the beginning, you remember he's talking about He doesn't care if Trump gets in or Biden or Harris or whoever. He doesn't care. But here we sit listening to him oppose a political party. That's actually a violation of the Johnson Amendment, to my knowledge. It's just not being enforced, unfortunately. So he's going to continue to operate as tax exempt. By the way, a while back, he claimed that he wasn't tax exempt. I checked later, and as far as I can tell, his company that he set up in 2006 is still filed as a tax exempt entity, and it's not dissolved. It's current today. So I don't even think he gave up tax exemption or whatever. I think it was just like a lie so that he could just say whatever he wants with impunity.
Use poor people as an excuse to launder money.
Right. Democrats launder money by using poor people. Totally. Absolutely. I launder money all the time using poor people.
And that's all I'll say about that politically, praise God. But I did quote the Bible, so we're all good.
Like he thinks that quoting the Bible means, what does that mean in his head? Does that mean that he's legally allowed to talk about politics if he quotes the Bible? No, that has nothing to do with it. You can't endorse or oppose any political party or candidate. Jesus Christ, dude. I would hate to be this guy's lawyer. He's got a mess on his hands. God, Greg Locke is such an odd person.
Why do you always just gotta say something about something? Why not stop standing? Because if we...
Well, stop being a scumbag is what I'm asking. I'm not asking you to stop standing. What?
Standing. Because if we do not stand up now, our children will have nothing to stand up for later, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not fighting for you. I'm fighting for your kids and for your grandkids.
No, thank you, good sir. I'm asking you not to do that. Thank you.
And kids, we don't want revival for this generation. We want revival for the next generation. And if you don't stand up and get loud and bold now, your kids will be silenced in prison.
In prison. Your kids will be going to prison for talking about whatever other things that he said earlier. Abortion. You're going to go to prison for talking about abortion. Are you serious? Hyperbole doesn't begin to describe what he is or what he's doing here.
If you can't see that we are losing freedoms at an alarming rate, you're...
Whoa, wait a minute now. You're telling me that you are afraid of losing freedoms? He literally just spent the past, minute describing freedoms that he wants to take from others. And now he's complaining about... What freedoms are you losing, Greg? Specifically. Name them. Lay them down for me. What things are which things are being taken? In fact, which freedoms has Greg lost in the past 25 years? Which ones?
Not paying attention. And this is not a who's going to get in the White House. I'll be honest with you, I could care less at this point.
Totally. Yeah, I can tell.
If we don't get Jesus back in the God's...
Jesus, I'm a fan.
In the God's house, we're in a mess.
Later on in this, you can see his little watch here. This is an interesting little story. I don't want to go down a whole rabbit hole here, but he's had this tent, this circus tent that he's operated out of for since 2006 or something. And because he can't, he hasn't been able to afford a full building. And in the past 3 years or something, his tent has been destroyed by natural disasters twice. First was a tornado in Tennessee, ran through town and knocked his tent over. And he buys a new one, sets it up. And then snow comes down and piles on top of his canvas and caves it in. If I didn't know better, I'd say God's trying to give you a message here, Greg. Anyway, for the previous tent that he bought, it was a semi-permanent structure, the one that got destroyed. And he fundraised $400,000 from his audience or something to buy it. And it was destroyed within 6 months. Oh my God, dude. That's terrible. $400,000 destroyed in 6 months. So he's decided he's building a full-blown building now. He's going to set up a church, and he's trying to fundraise again. So this whole sermon, I watched it on my Owen Morgan Unfiltered channel. The whole thing was based around him saying you should give up things that you don't need, basically. And he went so far as to take his watch off and give it to an audience member, because he wants them to donate money to him. Okay. I'll just buy a new watch. Why not? With the money you're going to donate. Make a point here. Just insane, man. Tell me what you think in the comments. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And take a look at my YouTube channels. Owen Morgan, where I talk about religious issues. Telltale Fireside Chat, where I talk about politics. Telltale Unfiltered, where I do long-form breakdowns of stuff like this. And take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.